Flosstube. My name is Ria and I am the Blue Coast Stitcher. Welcome to my channel, and today's date is Thursday, July the 18th, 2024, and this is my quiet little corner of the Flosstube world. I'm not one of the bigger Flosstube channels and I'm okay with that. It's kind of cozy, and my mug is cackle with delight, and even though it's July. I got this in the discount shelf of HomeSense about a couple years ago. It was like $2. I bought it at Christmas time. It's like, booyah. I'm not usually one on Ray Dunn, but I don't know, just this one. Now I've got my lipstick on it. It really caught my eye. So anyways, I'm back. I'm back, baby. Hope you have your favorite beverage. I have some tea, of course, and water. Just had a cookie. I don't think there's anything in my teeth. Anyways, welcome. I am back. We've had a very eventful couple months. Let's see. When's the last time I was fitching? Last time I filmed was Stitch North. I had to come back from Stitch North, and then I had some plans. This is Flosstube number 8. I'm looking at my channel because it's been a while. I'm a terrible Flosstuber. So yeah, this is Flosstube number 8, and my last one was 2 months ago. A lot's happened. A lot has happened. We're in our first summer here at the new house by the lake. So 2 months ago, that puts us middle of May, June, middle of May. Yes. So, yeah, we were gearing up for a very, very busy June. We first had to go to Toronto for a few days, where we used to live. It wasn't that big of a deal, but now we go a little further away, 3 hours away, approximately, depending where in Toronto you go to. Just that's the western edge of Toronto. So, yeah, so we had Amanda, that's our second daughter. She graduated with 2 master's degrees from the University of Toronto. She has a master's in museum studies and a master's of information, specifically archives. She moved back home during the May 2-4 weekend, and then we had to go back. We stayed at a hotel in Mississauga and just took the subway. As if you know Toronto, driving to downtown, that's where U of T is, especially with Convocation, because there was 3 ceremonies that day, and we were the middle one. It was a beautiful sunny day. So we stayed at a hotel in Mississauga and then drove to a subway station. I can't remember which one. And took the subway to the university. Got to see her walk across the stage at the University of Toronto graduation hall and get her 2 diplomas, and then we had them framed. And so now they're hanging up in her bedroom with her Waterloo University bachelor's degree, which she had a bachelor's honors in earth sciences, specifically geology. She's my rocks and minerals girl. So yeah, so she's currently applying for different jobs, and she's just applying for one that's actually here in this county. So we'll see, fingers crossed, that she'll get this job. But she's did a couple of internship jobs at a couple of different places in Toronto last summer, and she really enjoyed it, but she was tired of living in Toronto. I asked her, I said, you ever go back to Toronto? The only time she would go back to Toronto is if she got a job with the ROM, Royal Ontario Museum, which I don't blame her. And she said, no, she enjoyed living there for a few years. It was a 3-year master's degree because it was 2 masters in one 3-year program. And I think she was one of 6 people. She said she enjoyed living. She was like in the Spadina area. She lived in Grad House. She enjoyed it. Very versed in getting around the city, knows the TTC system, the GO train, etc. But she was born and raised in a small town just outside of Kitchener-Waterloo, and now we live in another small area along the shores of Lake Huron, and she said she missed open spaces. So she's back here for now, and the only time she'd ever move back to Toronto was if she was offered a job at the ROM. So we'll see. But again, she's applied for here. And then a few days, we were home for 3 days. 4 days. We home because we came home the Friday. And then Tuesday morning, Dave and I up and left again and went to England for almost 3 weeks. If you follow me on Instagram, you will see that I have been uploading our different adventures, you know, day 1, day 2, day 3. Dave got sick early on. Everybody was coughing. Wherever we went, we noticed it right away. As soon as we were at the Pearson Airport in Toronto, we heard the coughs. And we kind of looked at each other like, oh crap. And, you know, we do our best to stay fairly healthy and take care of ourselves, supplements. We brought masks with us for the air flight. There was one lady, she was holding her chest. She was across the aisle from us. She was really sick. But he ended up first getting it, and then, because we arrived the Wednesday UK, and then Sunday morning he was sick with this cold. It wasn't COVID, it was a cold. I myself ended up getting it a week later and tested, and it was negative for COVID. So it was just a bad cold and fatigue. So, but overall we had a really good time. We did Oxford. Our daughter lives in the village of Wantage in England, which is part of Oxfordshire, the county of Oxford. And the only thing, because of Dave being ill, we missed, it was Father's Day. And we had planned to go Blenheim Palace, which is where Winston Churchill was born. Even though he's not part, like, he's related to the Marlboroughs that own it. I think his father was like a brother of the Duke of Marlborough, and he was born early, unexpectedly, at Blenheim Palace, which is just outside of the village of Woodstock. And I was born and raised in Woodstock, Ontario. So I was hoping, because we had Blenheim Palace and we were going to do afternoon tea. We love afternoon tea at the Orangery there. And then when the palace closed at 4 p.m., we were going to go to Woodstock, because it's right next to Blenheim Palace is the village of Woodstock. Just to see, because I'm born and raised in Woodstock, Ontario, and just to see Woodstock, England. And the old city hall in Woodstock, Ontario is modeled after the city hall in Woodstock, England. So I wanted to get the pictures, and but anyways, next time. Laura's going to be there for at least a few more years, if not forever. I would not be surprised if she stays forever. And then, so we did other things like the Ridgeway, which is this very ancient roadway that's probably about 5,000 years old. And it's still a walkway, a path that goes, it's quite a few miles. I think it's like 80 miles. It goes right across the southern, western part of England. I think it starts somewhere in the Cotswolds and ends up further east. Anyways, so we were able to do bits and pieces there. Her village where she lives is known as the birthplace of Alfred the Great. So of course we had to find Alfred. Found Alfred. His statue's right in the middle of this market square. It's a market town. And drove. That was interesting. Itty bitty narrow country roads where for us it's the wrong side, right? Because you're driving on the left. So Dave drove. I had Waze on my phone, and you know, Dave's focused on, you know, it's very narrow roads. So if a car's coming, oncoming, there's not much space. Like here in North America, our roads are wide because our roads were built for cars. Whereas overseas, a lot of the roads and highways were developed long before there were cars. It was horse and buggy and walking, right? And a lot of the major highways there are based on Roman roads, and the Roman roads are based on Iron Age roads. So you can see it's just not designed, and their cars are smaller, but they're braver than us. And yeah, and it'll be like 50 miles an hour on this narrow country road, and there's like a wall inches from my side of the car because I'm the passenger. We got used to it. Fell in love with the English countryside. Excuse me. And, you know, and it was an adjustment. And then we spent some time in London, saw the Tower of London, Westminster Abbey, walked past Buckingham Palace. We went to Kensington Palace, had afternoon tea at the Orangery there. So the Orangery was built for Queen Anne in the early 1700s. I can't remember, I have to look it up the exact date. And it was a wonderful afternoon tea. Of course, the Tower of London, the history, right? You could see the remnants of the old Roman walls that was part of the tower when William the Conqueror came to town, so to speak, and started building like the White Tower, etc. And then, you know, add on, of course, I found the ravens, and, you know, they're fascinating. They're beautiful creatures, stunning creatures, and the ravens of the Tower of London. And it was interesting because the moat, what used to be the moat, they are naturalizing it with wildflowers. And so it's kind of like this dichotomy because you're in the heart of London. It's a very busy, busy area. Like when the Tower of London was originally built, you know, Roman times, and then William the Conqueror and beyond, it was kind of like out in the boondocks, so to speak, up the river. And so now you're surrounded by the city of London, which is very loud, very busy, very intense. And, you know, we have like 3 introverts, myself, my husband, and Laura, and it was like, whoa, this is too much stimulation. Anyway, so we walked the naturalized area of the moat, and it was like you have some butterflies and bees, and then you can just constantly, because London Bridge is right there, and you can constantly hear the traffic and the buzz that is the big city. And at one point, a seagull was flying over the moat area, and one of the ravens, I don't know where he was or she came out of nowhere and was like, get the hell out of our territory, which is the Tower of London. So it's quite interesting. They're very intelligent birds. They used to have a raven that would steal ribbons from little girls' hair when they drank from a specific fountain. It was interesting because we happened to be by the fountain at one point, and some people were drinking from the fountain because it was a hot, sunny day. And there was a raven sitting there watching, and then at one point there was 2 ravens side by side. You could tell they were communicating and talking. It was really fascinating. And of course, Westminster Abbey, the history of that. We took so many pictures, and with Westminster Abbey, there's a new gallery called the Queen's Jubilee Gallery. You're not allowed to take pictures up there, so I really don't have any photos that I will be sharing. I might, when I get to that on my Instagram, I have the book and even online some images of what's in the Queen's Jubilee Gallery exhibit. It's kind of tucked in the corner of the Westminster Abbey as you're nearing the end of the audio tour, because you get an audio tour every time you come in. Timed entry is key, and it was built in celebration of the Queen's Jubilee a few years ago when she opened it. The large portrait in celebration of her Jubilee is up in that gallery. You've got, I guess, back in the day when royals died, they created effigies. So some were wood, some were wax. Queen Elizabeth I's wax effigy is up there in her full gown, and you get to see her face and all that. One of the copies of the original copies of the Magna Carta is up there. Queen Mary. So when Mary and William of Orange were crowned, because there's the coronation chair, which is another part, they created an exact replica for Queen Mary, because William of Orange and Mary were crowned as equals, which was the first and only time that's ever happened in the royal succession line of the English throne, as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong. So her coronation chair, which of course, just like the original one that Charles III was originally coronated in, has graffiti from boys that go to Westminster School. Westminster Abbey, people live there. So there was some gardens with apartments, and we were able to go there, and there were some parts you couldn't go in because it was people's apartments. So it's fascinating. All the graves, where James I created the grave and tomb for Elizabeth I and Mary, Queen Mary, Bloody Mary, his aunts, or I guess it's his aunts or cousins. No, because cousins. And then he buried them together because he was, you know, understandably, Elizabeth I kind of had his mother beheaded. And then for his mother's tomb, she had her own room. So Mary and Elizabeth are buried together in the same tomb. So you can tell, okay, he was a little bitter, but he went through the motions, James I. And they're in the room with, because neither one of them had children, and they're in the room where they have some children buried, including the princes in the tower. If you know the history, the two princes in the tower, they found remains. So those remains are in that room with Mary and Elizabeth. And then his mother, Mary, Queen of Scots, has her own tomb, and her own is much more elaborate, a much more elaborate room. And she's buried with her mother and mother-in-law, James I, grandmother from Darnley, that was killed. No, Darnley was her husband that fathered James I. I remember this from 2022 when we did Holyrood, but it was not a happy marriage. She had he ended up killing someone he thought was her lover in her chambers, and we were in that room where this person was killed. Both his grandmothers with his mother are in this room. So that was neat. And then the Queen's Jubilee Galleries is tucked away in a corner by the poets. We got where Shakespeare, Chaucer, all the famous writers and poets, Browning. Of course, my brain's going blank. Emily Bronte, Jane Austen, all that, right? So it's kind of tucked away. It's an extra cost to go up there, and you could look down because it's above the altar. So when you're on the main floor, you can't see Edward the Confessor's tomb. But you go to pay £5 extra to go to the Queen's Jubilee Gallery. You spend a long time there. So much to see. No pictures allowed, but you overlook, looking down on Edward the Confessor's tomb, and the mosaic that's in front of the altar on the other side. That was, I believe, early medieval. Searching my memory here. And it was covered by carpet for a really long time. And I remember about 5 or 6 years ago hearing that they actually pulled up the carpet because they knew there was something under there, but they didn't know what. And they restored it. And now when you go to the Queen's Jubilee Galleries, you can look down and see it for all its glory. Whereas when you're on the main floor level with the mosaic, you don't get the same view, right? Because the bird's eye view really gives you an idea of the detail of this mosaic that's put on the floor in front of the altar. And I believe during Charles and Camilla's coronation, that's where the chairs were on that platform. Absolutely stunning. Saw Parliament, Victoria and Albert Museum. I did the Ashmolean, tapestries, cross-stitch. We even did the museum, the Vale and Dalman's Museum in Wantage, and there's some beautiful cross-stitch pieces, samplers from little girls from that area from the 1800s. And Queen Victoria crocheted, and she made a scarf and gifted it to Lady Wantage. And so that's on display in the museum as well. And it's in my Instagram stories right now. I'm only up to, we just got to London. I'm hoping today to put up pictures of the tower. And that was our first day. And then I ended up getting sick on the day that we did Kensington Palace. And then we had to travel the next day because we had to go up to Glasgow. Much cooler, which was nice because England, climate change is making their summers hotter, especially in the city of London, and they don't have air conditioning like we do. And I'm a temperate climate girl. I don't like heat and humidity. We just got over a huge heat wave here. So it was refreshing to head up to Glasgow. It was a little colder and of course overcast. And then we did Laura's convocation, or as they call it there, I think it's just graduation, at the University of Glasgow, and I will be showing pictures. It was Bute Hall, which is above the cloisters. So again, if you've ever watched, say, Outlander, and I think it's been the cloisters of University of Glasgow have been used in various movies and TV shows out of England, and Outlander, it stood in for Oxford, with stood in for Oxford, where Roger Mackenzie was teaching, and Brianna and Claire were there. So, fabulous day. I don't like taking drugs for when I'm sick, but it was just a cold. So I was taking the British version of Dayquil. I'm not a fan of it, but hey, it just got me through the days because there was a lot to fly to Glasgow, convocation, fly from Glasgow to Heathrow, fly from Heathrow to Toronto, stay the night in Toronto, and then drive home. And then once we got home, it's like that's it. I'm crashing and I'm burning. I think we arrived the Saturday of Canada Day weekend, or Friday we came home, and then Saturday I basically slept. I was so tired. I stopped taking the drugs. I said, okay, now let my body kill off this virus. And it's just one of those viruses, and it tires you out. It doesn't make you real sick. You can probably hear it in my throat still. That's ever since COVID, and even before COVID, my weak spot is my throat. Anyway, so her convocation, Laura got her PhD. Technically, it's in the Department of Earth Sciences, but her specialty is planetary sciences, specifically working with meteorites. And we got to go to her workplace, her research. She works for a research facility just outside of Oxford called Diamond Light. It's a particle accelerator. And you got to see where she works and her office that she shares with some other people. And we got to meet one of her coworkers, really nice girl, and her boss was away sick with the flu, so we couldn't meet him. And then we got to see the lab where she does her research. And she lucked out. She was able to get time off because the beam was off. The beam, they call it the beam, was offline for some upgrades. And so we got to see a couple of the IT guys were there. We got to meet them that she knows that was working on the equipment to upgrade their section of the beam, because it's like a giant donut, and then there's different slabs around the outer edge, because she does meteorites. Archaeologists will send samples there to get proper dating and analyze artifacts, like I think it was a cannonball from one of Henry VIII's ships that had sunk. And then they also do biology, health sciences. So they cover the gamut of all sciences at these particle accelerators that a lot of people don't understand. And sometimes you get some misinformation about what these facilities are about. And they're just absolutely fascinating. And we got to tour one in person. We weren't allowed to be unattended. And of course, it's been a couple of times Laura said, "Mom, get over here." It's like, "But I want to see this." It's like, "Mom, you're not allowed to be left alone." And it was more for personal safety, because we have a multi-billion-dollar facility here that is cutting-edge research, from pathogens and bacteria to archaeology to space sciences, you name it. And last thing you need is someone to do something stupid or wander off and get injured. So anyways, there's some images on my Instagram from that. I didn't share too much, just because it is a research facility, and I really didn't want to expose them to too much imagery on there was nothing bad. It was just a lot of people could misunderstand and make stuff up, because that's been happening a lot. So anyways, that was that. She got her PhD, and in Glasgow, they do a lot of Latin. So it was opened with a Latin prayer and closed with a Latin prayer Her diploma certificate is in Latin. We got it framed for her, and she brought it home, and then we flew back to Heathrow, and then Laura took the train from Heathrow to Paddington Station, and then Paddington to another station, and then she hired a cab to take her back to her flat in Wantage. So yeah, the train systems there really much more efficient than here in Canada. And I know our governments have tried to make a more efficient train system, but there's always been pushback. But definitely in England, it was much better. So that was that. And then of course, when we got home, I was sick and crashed and burned. That was Canada Day weekend. And then it was our anniversary on the 4th of July. Dave and I got married the 4th of July. Got engaged July 1st, 1990. Married 4th of July, 1992. And so we covered both sides of the border for our family. I'm Canadian born and raised. He's American born, Canadian raised. And so we always laugh. We got both sides of the border covered with our engagement and our marriage. And we went out for dinner, tried a new restaurant here. Normally our tradition has been where we used to live to go to Langdon Hall, which is a very expensive but beautiful, my favorite restaurant, our favorite restaurant. That's our anniversary restaurant. That's where we normally go because we used to live 20 minutes from it. But now we live further away, and we just decided, you know what, we're going to be jet lagged, and we were, and we're going to be tired, and I was getting over this cold. And so I'm glad we decided to try a new restaurant here in Sarnia. Enjoyed it. Still wasn't feeling well, so, but hey, it was still a night out with my husband, and then gardening and cross-stitching, which is why you're here. And it's been almost 30 minutes of me talking, and I have so much more to tell, but some interesting tapestries, but I'll probably share that on Instagram. I'm in London now, so you'll see, especially when I get to the Victoria and Albert Museum Day, they have a lot of tapestries and samples there. So I took, even though the tapestry room was closed for renovations, I still found a lot. So it was fascinating. A little tucked away museum that a lot of people go, Victoria and Albert Museum. It's like, no, it's not, I didn't realize how big it was. I thought it'd be like half a day and we'd move on. We spent the whole day there. It was amazing. Anyways, so that was that. Laura's now a doctor. Amanda has her double master's. Daniel is still working on his master's of engineering, and he and his girlfriend are on their way here. We have a big event. Today's Thursday, so Saturday we're hosting a bunch of family members. Our niece had gotten married in a very small private ceremony. My father-in-law is a retired Anglican priest, and my brother-in-law is an Anglican priest, and our minister, I should say, not priest, minister. And she wanted Grandpa to officiate her marriage. It's probably the last one he'll be able to do. He's retired. He has Parkinson's, and then my brother-in-law was there to help along with, and he's also my niece's godfather, so that was nice. And so we're hosting a reception for her and her husband, and our family and some members of his family will be coming on Saturday, because we have the space, we have the backyard, we've got a fairly big open house, and we're across the street from the lake. Mom and Dad aren't up to hosting parties anymore, and Dad has Parkinson's, so the noise and commotion, so somebody will come get him, bring him here for about 20 minutes, half an hour to get something to eat and say hi and congratulations, and then bring him back home where he will probably have a nap, because with Parkinson's, it can be very overwhelming to the brain, the nervous system with social events. So we're in the midst of getting ready for that. And I decided to make this floss tube. So I'm feeling much better. So now that we're home, settled, trip was amazing, let's get to why we're here. It is Flosstube after all. Yes, so cross stitch. Couple of things. I did watch some Flosstube, not a whole lot. I wrote down two. I watched two Flosstubes that were brand new Flosstubers, so videos. It was their very first videos, in which were Whip Parade. One was Derek, who goes by the Citrus Stitcher, and it was his very first Flosstube, and he goes, I'm just a beginner. And then he holds up, this is my Mirabilia. And I went, that's not beginner. I've been stitching for a few years. I have not yet tackled a Mirabilia. Thought about it. Stunning. And just showed some of his whips. And it was just absolutely beautiful for someone who's just beginning. He's off and running and he's doing some fabulous work. Quite impressed. That was Derek. And then the other one was Molly from Molly McMaker. So I guess she's already on Instagram. I have to go find her. And she did her first Flosstube, which of course is a whip parade. Some beautiful, beautiful works. And she made project bags. So she was showing some, like, because a lot of her projects are in project bags she made. She makes some beautiful project bags. And then one that's not a new Flosstuber, but I do follow, is Fiber and Floss Canada with Erica. She's friends with the Huga Stitcher. And she just happened to just pop into my feed. I just have YouTube on my TV and I just, sometimes I'll stitch and randomly it just rotates through different Flosstubes. Sometimes they're new, sometimes it's somebody I've seen before. Anyways, it was interesting because Erica had all these plans. I know when we're doing Flosstube, we talk about plans. And for me, I was doing like 24 starts in 2024, right? And I guess they had started because it's the Year of the Dragon, a Year of the Dragon SAL, and some other projects. And she found, because for most of us, this craft, cross-stitch, is our hobby, our way to decompress at the end of the day. And how she found she was losing, and it brings us joy, right? She was losing that joy because she had all these plans and it became shoulds. And when they became shoulds, she wasn't having the same joy. I should work on the dragon. I should work on this, right? When she really wanted was to do Christmas in July. And I think that's like anything in life, especially as women, we really get caught up in our shoulds. We always feel like we should do this, should do that. And it can be very, suck the joy out of our lives. And so cross stitch is something that is also very joyful for me, and I know many other cross stitchers. And yeah, and you shouldn't have your hobby become a should, because sometimes that just sucks the joy out of it. And I know her kids are a lot younger than mine, so the way she was talking is like, yeah, I know those summers where you feel like your mom's Uber driver. Now it's Uber driver, taxi driver, right? You're driving kids here, there, everywhere. Plus she works herself. So I think it was really interesting to know that I'm not the only one that sometimes gets caught up in the shoulds, and then I find it soul-sucking and taking the joy out of my life and whatever it is that I'm doing. And so she decided to do her Christmas in July, and she shows some of the pieces that she was working on, including one that is her oldest whip, that she thought it was ruined because it had been so long and the fabric was faded, you know, because tape and all that. But anyways, go check her Flosstube. And it was just like, you know, a lift, right? And then I was thinking, well, I feel guilty because I feel like I'm behind my 24 starts in 2024. I pulled out my binder the other night and I'm like, yeah, I'm behind, but oh well. I'm gonna do what brings me joy, and if I don't do 24 starts in 2024, the world will not stop spinning on its axis. My world will not cease to exist. All will be fine. And there's enough things in today's day and age to get upset about, and not reaching goals that you've set yourself in your craft is not one of them to get upset about. Unless it's your business, I guess, but even then. And that's when I get it in. And I'm not someone, progress and process? I'm not fixated on getting something done. And so that can also cause problems because then I got a lot of whips. But I find there's joy in just the process for me, getting the stitches, seeing the images come alive, and not putting pressure on myself to reach a deadline to finish a piece. I've never liked deadlines. That's probably why I never did really that great in school, because I hated deadlines. it felt very constricting, like you're putting me in a box and you got to do this and the shoulds, right? So that is what I don't want my cross stitch to be, which brings me to my next topic. If you followed along, you know at Stitch North, Caroline, enabled me to purchase something. Some people have reached out to me and say, hey, when do you want to start it, right? And a piece. So Caroline's going to do a video and post it probably before I get this uploaded because she's filming today too. I reached out to her, and it's Matilda Clark from Shakespeare's Peddler, aka the Kitten Stitcher. And we're going to start this for my birthday month. My birthday month is August. So we're looking at an August 1st start. The hashtag will be Stitch Matilda with us. And this will be my birthday start along. It's going to be open-ended. There's not going to be do this, do this, do that. It's start where you want to start. If you want to join with us, you can start in the middle. You can start, you know, upper right, upper left, whatever. Wherever you want to start. I'll probably do middle because I like being middle. And I'm going to see how much I get done in the month of August. This will be my birthday stitch. For my actual birthday, we're not home. We're actually going to Langdon Hall. And now that we live 2 hours away, we're staying the night. And so that's going to be my birthday gift from Dave. It's just the night at Langdon Hall, the nice dinner, and the grounds. So August 1st, Matilda Clark, Evertote and Roxy Floss Co. Floss Conversion. So this is it here. It's 40 count. Did I throw it away? What it is? Is it speculoos? Oh crap. Or did I put it in here? I have the floss conversion guide. It's 40 count. I have never stitched on 40 count before. Roxy Floss Co. Floss conversion. I'm gonna have to watch Caroline's video about this. It looks like it could be speculoos. I've never stitched 40 count before, so this is really stepping outside my comfort zone. I am a 32 count linen stitcher. My eyes like it. Looking at it, I think I can do it. And the floss conversion right here. So August 1st is our plan to start it. There's no plans to have it done by the end of August because once we get into, then it's simpler September. So I would like to make it as enjoyable and relaxing as possible without any pressure for anybody to feel that they need to part 1, part 2, part 3. Like a lot of stitch alongs. I do stitch alongs and I just start, and I've learned I am going to get behind. That's just who I am, and not to get upset about it because it just sucks the joy out of my stitching. And I do love seeing people who really are good at keeping up with stitch alongs. You go, girl. You go, boy, guy, dude. You go, person. But anyways, there's the floss conversion. It's very pretty. Very pretty. So August 1st, join us. And it'll be Stitch Matilda with us. I will see if I can put the hashtag somewhere on the screen or definitely in the description box below. All right. Stop the presses. I have a finish. I finished something. Oh my goodness. Rhea actually finished something she started. And that was the holiday countdown stitch along with Jacob from Modern Folk Embroidery, Roxy Floss Co, and Evertote. I finished it. I think it was July 5th. I finished it. I finished something. It's not a fully it's not a fully finished, but it's finished. And I stuck with the called for colors. And I'm really happy with it. Really happy with it. 32 count speculoos. That I know is speculoos. I don't think this is speculoos. And then in the process, sorry, I'm ducking away here. Because this was packed. This is something I finished a year and a half ago. And it's the piece that, one of the pieces is the second piece that got me back into cross stitch. The first piece was a blackbird design, Abersiderian, which I still haven't finished yet. And it's not even that big of a piece, but anyways. It is this one. I finished this about a year and a half. It's finished. It's not fully finished. This time last year, we were packing stuff up and hiding for putting our house on the market and getting ready to move here, which we did last fall. Anyways, it is from Plum Street Samplers, and it's Salem Sisters 3 on 32 count vintage country mocha. So, and now it's July, so I don't have a board to put it on. When you stitch 32 count, they tend to be bigger, but that's okay. I really enjoyed stitching that. And in 2011, we did a big family vacation. And one of the things was to go to Salem. The story of the Salem witch trials and how, the burning times, as they call it, and Salem's famous witch trials, and just the quirkiness that the town has become because of the witch trials. And it's just something that's fascinated me. And so when I saw this at Stitch It Central, I had to get it kitted up. So they did that. And I finished this. So I finished this, yeah, about a year and a half ago. All right. So I do have a new start, and it's the one thing I've been focusing on other than finishing the holiday countdown from 2023 was Caroline's birthday stitch along that started July 7th. Weeds and Wildflowers, which is a collaboration with the Artsy Housewife. And this is the first time I'm stitching an Artsy Housewife pattern. I really admire the patterns that I've seen. I just haven't stitched one yet. And it's called collaboration with Artsy Housewife, Evertote, and Roxy Floss Co. And of course it's on 32 count Buttercup. And oh, I love this. I'm keeping an eye on the Evertote website because I want to get a bigger piece because I have a tiny modernist pattern that I think would go perfect on this. So anyways, this is how far I am. Of course, the called for threads. So there's that. And I know Caroline had originally said that there was, well, I think it was 28 count, and turns out 32 count also wasn't, because I ended up getting the email, but I had started it because I wasn't paying attention to my emails for a few days. I kind of went into, I'm ignoring my emails, which I probably shouldn't have, work and personal. So I originally had started up here in the top right corner. I measured it and I'm like, okay, something just didn't feel right. As I was looking at it, because I took it out of the Q-snap and I'm looking at it going, it doesn't look like it's going to be enough room. And then the next day I opened my email July 8th, and there was that email from Hannah saying, you purchased the linen that is not cut properly, the right size, so start from the middle. So I undid. It was just, oh, the glare, this section I had stitched. I didn't get too far because it was a weekend, and so weekends tend to be busy here. So it wasn't a big deal. And then I found the middle, and I'm starting that middle flower. I did originally one stitch off this, so I had to rip this out and then restitch it, but everything else so far is so good. See if the camera will focus. And I love the custom needle minder. I'm really loving this pattern, this stitch. So I'm working on that. My goal is to work on this as much as I can up until August 1st when I start Matilda Clark. So I'm gonna, that last week of July, I don't even know what date we're at right now. The party's the 20th, today's the 18th. So yeah, I have a week and a half left that I'll just work on this when I can before I start Matilda Clark. So, excuse me, brings us to the next bit with trips, celebrations of graduations. Now we're celebrating my niece's wedding on Saturday here. That I'm not getting as much stitching as I would have hoped, but I have some haul. So first things first is Roxy Floss Co. I'm part of the monthly floss club from Roxy and Evertote. I haven't opened it yet. This is July's, and I just got an email that August is coming, so I'm a little behind. And I get both the neutrals and the brights. Sorry. Okay. There's a garbage can there. So the brights. Oh, they're so pretty. Give me a lake. The lake's not looking like this right now. Lake Huron's usually pretty blue, but we've had so much rain with flooding, and then you get the runoff, and it's got some brown. The beaches are closed because of the runoff from the farmers' fields. Sometimes it looks like this. It's beautiful color when it does. A couple more days and it'll look like this again. Ponder. That's a beautiful icy blue. Bubble bath. Makes me think of the bottle of Mr. Bubbles when we were a kid, growing up in the 70s. Chambord, it's like a rusty red, wine almost, and Berry Queen. Ooh, that's got some nice gradients in there. Ooh, look at that. That's the brights, and then the neutrals is very much a yellows, golds, greens. Honey mustard, it's like a greeny yellow. Mustard seed, it's a little darker. Old penny, which, you know, in Canada we don't have pennies anymore, but I do still have some kicking around. Straw hat, I have a straw hat that's like this color. Worn it on my Caribbean cruises, gardening. And hay bale, and I live in a very agricultural area, and there's a lot of hay bales out in the fields right now. Farmers can't dry them out because it keeps raining. Yeah, you would have seen on the news that here in Ontario we got a lot of rain, some severe flooding. Our backyard and our front yard turned into puddles because the water table's high here on a good day. And there were some areas because we're just part of that watershed emptying to the lake. And so, yeah. And then I ordered this on Amazon. And I'm glad I got it. I do have, if you watched my very first floss tube, I have my oldest whip is a piece of crewel that I picked up in 1989, 1990. It's my oldest whip. It's almost done. I found everything for it, but I really want to expand my stitches. So I do know some of the crewel stitches. I have to refresh my mind. I want to finish it this year. That's on my to-do list. but I got this book, The Essential Book of Embroidery Stitches, 100 plus stitches with step-by-step photos and explanations. And I got this off of Amazon, amazon.ca, and usually what's on amazon.ca is on also .com or UK. It's fascinating. It's got all kinds, such as, here's an example. So there's a German knot. I didn't know there was a German knot. I knew there was a French knot. And I have, in my quill work, I do French knots, German knots. I have to see what's the difference between French and German. It's bigger, that's what it is. And it is possible to make a square or triangular knot. Okay, and then they have actual size of 2 strands, 3 strands, 4 strands. I don't know if it's gonna focus. See? New to me. Cable stitch, I did have an idea of that. Come on. So, and then it has examples of letters. Inkies, handkerchiefs, were a big deal growing up because before Kleenexes or facial tissue, you can still call it Kleenex. So growing up, my family, we always had handkerchiefs, and then I would get handkerchiefs from overseas from my Bepa or my Oma, and then they would embroider or initials on it and things like that. So yeah, buttonhole stitch. I got, and it's like it's broken down. So you got stump work, right? So there's a category for stump work. You can see there's colors, right? So each color is something different. And then, what is this one? Filling stitches. And then, there's a lot here. The Holbein stitch, the running stitch, the line stitches, right? So there's the buttonhole stitch. I remember we got from my husband's great aunts some embroidered tablecloths, and I remember there's some of this on there, which is Taylor's buttonhole stitch and blanket stitch. So yeah, I'm kind of neat. I just to catch up on this, right? And then of course the usual tips of starting and finishing embroidery. But yeah, it's a fascinating book. And it looks like it's from Japan. Hiroko and Shizu, Atelier Fill. Oh, it has like a glossary of all the different stitches, where to find them. So that's neat. That's my book that I picked up. Sometimes it tells you where it's printed. Here we go. Turkey. But the ladies are from Japan that created this book. But yeah, that is just fascinating. So that is that. And then there's some 1, 2, 3 stitch. So I picked up these 2 pattern pieces from Blackbird, the Magical Mystery Tour. So I have the Strawberry Fields, and then this is, I don't have them in project bags yet, the Long and Winding Road, and Eleanor Rigby. So I picked up the patterns and then I finished kitting them. There was some of the threads didn't come right away, but so Long and Winding Road, I got 32 count Weeks Dye Works gray. And then the called for flosses, which is Gentle Arts, and yeah, they're all gentle. And yeah, Gentle Arts and Simply Shaker and Sampler Threads, all from General Arts and Weeks Dye Works, and some Weeks Dye Works thread. Anyways, there's the thread. Because, you know, Blackbird Designs, whoops. So I got that fully kitted with all the flosses and the linen. 32 count, Weeks Dye Works, gray. 32 count. When I will start that, I don't know. There's the other pieces. Octopus's Garden. Oh, there's another one, because there's 6 in the Magical Mystery Tour. So I have 3. And there's 3 more, I think, that I've ordered from Traditional Stitches, but there was something they were waiting on. Anyways, so Eleanor Rigby, and then there's also Anne Sweet Baby, because they've got this for like a, I'm not doing that one, I'm doing, of course, Eleanor Rigby, and I got 28 count linen from Roxy Fosco in Catnap. I just found it appropriate. And then it's only a few colors. Or maybe I did do, yeah, I also got the baby one. So it's only a couple colors. Yes, this is for the baby part, but yeah, red paint is the Sweet Baby. I am missing onyx because every time I go to order it, 1, 2, 3 stitches out, and then I say, let me know. And then by the time I go back, you know, I get the email and I click and then it's sold out again. They can't keep it in stock. So I have Roxy Fosco floss that I could probably get to replace onyx. So these are the ones that I have. And then they are in, yes, they're in here. The uniform blue. I'm missing that, but that just came the other day. And that's behind me here, now that I'm thinking of it. And I got just one of the threads for the baby, because I thought I could always do it and don't put Sweet Baby in, because there's no babies coming in our family anytime soon. But just because it's just so pretty with the colors, so. Anyways, yes. This one is from France. Reflet de soy. I'm terrible. I'm not a linguist. Anyways, it's Germaine Villiers, 1925. I got the pattern. Stunning. It was the colors. And I think I saw someone do a Flosstube back in May, June. And I went, oh, I love the colors, because look at the colors. They're so pretty. So then I'm doing 28 count casual linen in sand. And then it uses silks. Soy d'Alger. Oh God, I'm butchering it. How do you say this? Come on, come on, come on. Focus, focus, focus. Don't look at me, camera. Look at this. Oh, come on. Oh God, camera. Oh God, there we go. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Anyways, these are the called for threads. It's a different silk. I've used MPI before, and I'm really familiar with them. And this has a knot on the end, so I don't know. I'm gonna have to do some research on how to work with this, but that'll have to wait after Matilda. Because stitching on 40 count, that's gonna be my thing in August. Step outside your comfort zone. Challenge yourself. Hopefully I don't screw up 40 count, because it seems to me frogging on 40 count might be a little more challenging than frogging 32 count. Okay, so Lindy Stitches, I got they're not in their individual, but the Endangered Species Club. So there's been 3 patterns, and I just wanted to try it because I haven't really done anything from Lindy Stitches. And so I got the pattern. So you've got the Snow Leopard, Right Whale, and African Savannah Elephant. So with the club, I did get the called for Classic Colorworks and Weeks Dye Works. Oops. Do not get things mixed up, Rhea. Do not mix things up. Threads for each pattern came with the pattern. It costs a little more because of shipping, but then let's just try it. Because I do like her stuff, right? Some of her PDFs. Anyways, so that's for the elephant. And then the Right Wales Weeks Dye Works and Classic Color Works threads are these. Whoops, whoops. And then the first pattern was the leopard and mirror leopard. And this is the Classic Color Works and Weeks Dye Works threads that came with the pattern. And then we had to get our own fabric and DMC floss. I have other project bags, so I'm going to put one in their own project bag. I just haven't had a chance to divvy up the threads and everything, right? So each one is going to be going on a piece of 32 count Silver Moon Belfast linen. So kind of here, let me just hold up the leopard. So this will probably be something I'll do in the fall. Okay, so there's that. So it gives you an idea. And then each one has their own DMC floss. So I just ordered for the different patterns. I'm somebody who likes to have each pattern kitted with their own DMC floss. I don't want, say, DMC white that belongs to 3 patterns in one pattern, then I have to go find it. So it's DMC. I will find a use for it. So anyways, these are the threads for all 3 patterns for DMC that will be going on this, the Silver Moon 32 count. And it's in plastic, I'm sorry, but it is what it is. So that's that. Is my plan after the party. I got stuff to do after this. Anyways, and then, oh yes, this one. I don't have the fabric for this yet. This is a Plum Street sampler pattern that I picked up at Stitch North from Pastimes out in Blenheim towards Chatham, Windsor. And it's another Plum Street samplers, one of my favorite designers. And it's called Fruit of the Spirit. So the fabric that's called for 1, 2, 3 stitch was out. Yeah, and then one of their NPIs was out of stock, I think. But I got it since. Anyways, and then I got the threads. Oh, this one doesn't belong. This is some from gold filament that I needed for something else. Krennic. So pretty. And that's always good to have. So anyways, most of this is NPI silks. Oh, the onyx came. Woohoo! For and the uniform blue for Eleanor Rigby. All right. See, this is gonna be for my Eleanor Rigby. Can you tell? This arrived yesterday. So there's the onyx. And then I have it. I think I ordered extra onyx because it took me forever. They kept saying out of stock, out of stock. Anyways, this I do not have the fabric for yet, but I also have fabric in my stash that I might play with. So I got the called for MPI silks to go with the pattern. And I'm pretty sure I have something similar to this, right? Probably in a 32 count because that's what I do. I just love it. And then, oh, here's another NPI. And then she's got a couple of ones called the Thread Gatherer. And there's 2, the lavenders, which 1, 2, 3 stitch carries. But there's one called Nan's Mulberry that 1, 2, 3 stitch does not carry. I might do a road trip to London to Stitches Central to see if, I don't think she carries these because I remember looking, I didn't see it, but I'm gonna ask next time I go to Stitches Central in London because it's only an hour away. When? I don't know. So I've got everything but Nan's Mulberry, and maybe I can find something comparable. So this is the lavenders, and I think the mulberry is more of a reddy mulberry, right? A reddy purple, whereas this is more of a pinky purple. So there's just pretty, pretty colors. So it's not fully kitted yet, but I got the MPI threads. Oops, let me put it here. So that is my haul. Yeah, I'd probably start one of the Lindy stitches. I'll probably start the leopard in the fall. So my plans are to, excuse me while I fish this up. So plans, continue working on weeds and wildflowers. And August 1st, start Matilda Clark. August 1st, Caroline and I are going to start Matilda Clark. Wish me luck on 40 count. I might be cursing it, or I might be going, ooh, I love it. We'll see what my eyes say. And then that puts us to September, which is Sampler September. And I do plan to do a sampler. So Ellen from Maximum Cross Stitch, once again, collaborated with Roxy Floss Co., Timber Yarns, and Evertote for Sampler September. And this time Ellen released 2 samplers. One is an original and one is a reproduction. I just got the reproduction. I am still eyeing the original. I might buy it at Stitch North. I'm going to Stitch North in October, so I might buy it there. I don't know. I gotta pace myself. Anyways, I got the reproduction, which is Agnes Kerr 1830. And there are specialty stitches in here. I am wanting to expand my repertoire of stitches. Tiertje and Gretje is going to challenge me for that, which is from Jacob Palooza that I've been working on. And so Agnes Kerr is another one. 1830, you can tell it's another very colorful. I love color. Life is boring without color. Anyways, I love it. And Frank is on the back cover. And then typical Ellen fashion, there is DMC conversion as well, if you don't want to use the Roxy Floss Co. So I think Ellen has the PDF probably on her website. The book is obviously through Evertote. A near reproduction of an antique sampler. And so Ellen put the original specialty stitches that are on this pattern. And then I think there's also, if you don't want to do specialty stitches, straight up cross stitch. Excuse me. And she's got, yeah. And what I like is that Ellen's got really big, her pattern for old eyes like mine, so you can really see. And then, yeah, there's a bit, oh, she has, excuse me, a bit of a biography on Agnes, and Jacob helped her, from Wigtownshire, Scotland in 1815. And she was married, okay. A bit of a biography, and then she's got how to do it. The herringbone stitch, the rice stitch, and 16-leg eyelet stitch. So she does have, tells you how to do it. I did not reveal the pattern. Anyways, so that will be my sampler September plan. Definitely I will do an update probably in a couple weeks on my weeds and wildflowers and Matilda. Because I have to look at my calendar. I gotta put my glasses on because I have old eyes. Because it's the 18th. So yeah, that would put us August 1st. In 2 weeks is August 1st is when I plan to start Matilda. So maybe later that weekend I can, because it's a long weekend here, I can film another Flosstube, and that way it won't be just me talking to the air with really nothing to show. I can see how far I got on weeds and wildflowers and how the start of my birthday stitch, because my birthday is August 21st, but we're starting August 1st because I'm not home on my birthday. I'm away August 21st to the 22nd. So yeah, we'll see how much I can get done in August because the weather's nice. It's summer, and August to me is always when it gets to my birthday, because it's August 21st. It signals the end of summer, because I just remember as a kid it would be like August 21st. Where I grew up in Woodstock, it was always the fair, and always within 10 days, 2 weeks was Labor Day weekend. So it was always like after my birthday, and all of a sudden within a week, there's a change in the air because that means fall's coming, back to school. So yeah, as the wheel of the year turns. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So let me know if you are going to join us in stitching Matilda. We'll see. Caroline was selling the Matilda kits, fully kitted, at Stitch North. So I am sure they still have a fair bit in their store if you don't have it yet. Or you can just pick up the pattern and use your own floss and fabric. Again, it's very open-ended. I don't like deadlines when it comes to stitching. Deadlines put too much unnecessary pressure on us sometimes. Sometimes they're good, but sometimes it's an unnecessary pressure and takes the joy out of our stitching, at least for me. So open-ended, start whenever you can. You don't have to finish by the end of August, and we'll see how far I get. I'm a slow stitcher. Anyways, we'll see. Thanks for joining me. This is one of my shorter ones. Yes, I tend to ramble. Thank you for joining me. It's been a wonderful afternoon. My tea's almost done. Dave finished cutting the lawn. Amanda's baking for the party on Saturday, and then I have some stuff I have to do as well and get things organized. And I look forward to seeing some of your projects on Instagram, my other fellow Flosstubers, etc. And yeah, take some joy in that magic of putting thread to fabric and creating an image, and in that image a story. Because every piece we stitch has a story. Like for me, you know, Salem Sisters 3, the story is this is, you know, one of my first pieces since I got back into cross stitching that I actually finished. And the story of me going to Salem and seeing the Salem Witch Trials Memorial, visiting the town. I love New England of the States. And yeah, there's that story. And so embrace that, enjoy it, and never underestimate the impact that your stitching will have on future generations. Sometimes we think, oh, no one will want that, 'cause especially when we see cross stitch at thrift stores, right? But it does inspire somebody else who picks it up. So that's it for today. Thank you for joining me, and I wish you all the best and happy stitching, everyone.